Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the PFN Dallas Cowboys podcast. I am your host, Dalton Miller. My co-host, Jess Navarez, is stuck working at the Star. She's on the ground trying to get all of the news and reporting done that she can to bring you the best Cowboys content possible. With the NFL trade deadline being on Tuesday, we recorded on Wednesday, or are recording on Wednesday, just out of the hopes that the Dallas Cowboys would make a trade that we could talk about. But that didn't end up being the case. However, my hot or not take of the week is that not doing anything at the trade deadline is a fine tactic for the Dallas Cowboys this season specifically. And I say that because when you look at the roster up and down, where were you going to go? Were you going to give up a day 2 pick for Rasul Douglas to play on the outside when Deron Bland is playing perfectly fine on the outside? I understand trying to get depth at cornerback using a day 3 pick to get a depth piece maybe, but even that doesn't make a ton of sense when you can get starters for day 3 capital. So for me, I don't really see anything other than the offensive line that you could have addressed. And then the offensive line is something that you didn't think that you could address. You didn't understand or believe that somebody like Ezra Cleveland could be on the move yesterday, because teams just simply don't trade away starting caliber offensive linemen very often. So I think it's fine that the Dallas Cowboys did not make any moves yesterday, because I think that the moves that they made in the offseason have done more than make up for it, especially if we see the offense that we saw against the Los Angeles Rams. And let's get into a little bit of a Rams review, get into the Philadelphia Eagles preview, and then we will get you out of here, or I will get you out of here quickly. The Rams game was sublime. It was an absolute treat to watch. First of all, they used motion at the snap at a yearly high rate. We haven't seen anything close to it, really. It's a team that made the defense, answer questions on the fly. And I think that when you get a veteran quarterback like Dak Prescott, when you get a veteran quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, sometimes you get into a shell of, hey, these guys want static defenses because they don't want or don't need to go out of their way to have to react to what their defense is doing to react to the offense. They want static defensive looks and static offensive looks because they are so good at processing things defensively pre-snap. And when you have motion at the snap, it changes things on the fly for what is going on defensively. Now, I tend to think that the benefits outweigh the risks or the negatives when it comes to motion at the snap, particularly. The numbers offensively are better on average when there is motion at the snap. I like the fast motion that they used, or the cheat motion that they used with, I believe it was Jake Ferguson. I would rather see that be Brandon Cooks and then streak him down the sideline, get him a free release, get pushing the ball down the field. But Jake Ferguson on that particular play opened up the middle of the field for a nice first down completion. We're going to get into more Jake Ferguson talk here in a little bit when we start to talk about the Eagles game. But I wanted to first quickly talk a little bit about Dak Prescott and his performance the past 2 games, because this is a version of Dak Prescott that we have not seen since before his ankle injury. And I say that because he is using his legs more to create as a passer than we have seen in a long time. He is taking more risks in the pocket to try to create rather than just simply trying to get the ball out, dump the ball off. He is trying to push the ball down the field a little bit more. He's trying to make plays with his arm and his legs. And that's something that we have not seen for a while, simply because it's quite clear that he has lost a couple of steps since the ankle injury. But he's been pretty creative against the Chargers and the Rams. Now we'll see if he can continue that against the Philadelphia Eagles. Their defensive line is fantastic. Guys like Byron Young And guys like Aaron Donald are freak athletes, and those guys are, going to be able to chase him down every once in a while. There's a couple of athletes on that Philadelphia defensive line that are going to be able to chase him down as well. But he's a big, strong guy, and he's been able to create the past couple of weeks, and it has really taken the offense to the next level, because when guys aren't getting open immediately, that ability to buy time, that ability to, if they're running a route, if they're running a deep over and they see him sprinting out right, they're able to break off of that and create that separation from a defender that they didn't have on the play in the script. So I think we're seeing a version of Dak Prescott who, on top of processing things at an elite level, is also creating when he hasn't been recently, and it's been fantastic for this offense. Now, the offensive line, huge struggles early on in that Rams game, kind of got things going a little bit more, but it's a unit that is probably without Tyron Smith, and hopefully Smith is able to go against the Philadelphia Eagles. Without Smith is going to struggle because that Philadelphia defensive front has so many dudes on the edge that can rush the passer. Not just that, but can show so many different variations on the outside. Josh Sweat is different from Hassan Reddick, who is different from Derek Barnett, who is different from these guys that they have on the edge. I know I'm forgetting names as well. Brandon Graham still out there on the edge. Nolan Smith coming in relief, as well as a designated pass rusher. They can give you so many different looks on the outside. Makes it very dangerous on top of, the interior, which is Fletcher Cox and Jordan Davis and Milton Williams and Jalen Carter. And now they're also going to throw in Moro Ajomo a little bit on pass rushing downs because he's a fantastic athlete, 7th round pick out of Texas. I think that it's going to be a tough matchup against the Eagles, but I thought that the Cowboys offensive line got settled in a little bit as that Rams game went on. The one thing that I would like to see is the rushing attack get a little bit more creative, try to get Tony Pollard outside of the tackles a little bit more. And please, 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 let's do our best to get Rico Dowdle on the field a little bit more and make it more of a 50-50 split. I know that they want to kind of use and abuse Tony Pollard this year, but we want to maximize what we get from him and keep him fresh for the playoffs where you really are going to need him most. So let's get Rico Dowdle some more touches as well. Defensive side of the ball. Tank, Micah, Osa. Dude's balling on the defensive line right now. And Deron Bland is playing out of his mind. So I think defensively, I think that's where the really interesting matchups are against the Philadelphia Eagles. And we might as well just kind of get into it. I mean, Micah Parsons, we saw what he did against that Rams defensive front or offensive front. The rushes over the middle, you're seeing it from every team. Myles Garrett's rushing over the middle. The only team that's really not doing it is the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's just because Micah Parsons. TJ Watt lines up on the left side of the defensive line, and Alex Highsmith lines up on the right side of the defensive line, and that's where they rush from. And with other teams, the Browns, the Cowboys, you saw it with Donnell Hunter as well. Max Crosby over the center, finding mismatches. And I think that, Dan Quinn, Jim Schwartz, the best defensive coordinators in the NFL are doing that at a very high level, and it's been a lot of fun to watch. The Eagles and Cowboys preview is tough. These are two of, I think, right now the best teams in the NFC. I know that the Cowboys got absolutely decimated by the 49ers, but the 49ers have not been the same football team since that game. And I think when you look at the Cowboys and the Eagles in particular, they do things that are bad matchups for the opposition. When you look at the Cowboys offensively, Dak Prescott, when he is at his best, is surgical over the middle of the field. I think what you're getting from Jake Ferguson right now, first of all, that seam throw to him in the end zone was unbelievable. Great play by Jake Ferguson as well. I think the middle of the field is really where the Philadelphia Eagles are vulnerable. And I think that CeeDee Lamb playing a little bit more X receiver is going to be big, because I think that he is a mismatch even for Darius Slay and James Bradbury. I think that the run game for the Dallas Cowboys could be big in this game in particular, but they're going to continue to need to use motion at the snap. And they're going to continue to need to use Brandon Cooks and CeeDee Lamb in the run game as well. Get the ball on the edge, make those edge rushers defend the alley, because if they don't have to do that, if you're running in between the tackles, and even if you are doing traditional outside zone runs or power runs to the outside, which I wouldn't personally suggest against this team because they have such speed on the edges and they can make plays from the backside like it's nobody's business. With outside zone, you're really not keeping that backside edge rusher at home. You need something to do that. And using motion at the snap, using jet motion, using orbit motion, you're going to be able to put them in a little bit more conflict so they're not able to simply attack. So I think getting the ball on the edge, making them make plays outside of the tackle box is going to be big. We've seen the Dallas Cowboys have success running the ball with CeeDee Lamb. Get him 2 or 3 of those a game. Do whatever you really can, in particular, to get CeeDee Lamb the ball in his hands, not just in the passing attack, but in the run game as well. And I think that you can really kind of stress this Philadelphia Eagles team on the edge. When you look at them, their issues are in the middle of the field. The safety play has not been great for them. I think Kevin Byard coming in is going to help that. But their linebackers have not been very good this year. And I think that you can really take advantage of that by making them try to get outside of the tackle box and make plays at the second level. But you need a fresh Tony Pollard to really maximize that. And that is why I want Rico Dowdle more on the field more than he has been. So I think that that's the big thing offensively, is stressing this defense in the middle of the field in the passing attack and getting the ball outside of the tackles in the run game. Now, when we look at this on the defensive side of the ball, this is where I really struggle. Because if I've seen anything from the Cowboys' run defense over the years, it's that they have not been good, and it doesn't matter who the defensive coordinator is. They have not been good at defending the option. The QB run, or having the threat of the quarterback run, has been an issue for them for a long time. Now, they've had a lot of success against the Philadelphia Eagles over the years, but this might be the first time we've seen a fully healthy Dak Prescott and I say healthy Jalen Hurts, but Jalen Hurts is a little bit banged up. And that might be the Dallas Cowboys saving grace in this game in particular, is that he is not at 100% and he won't be at 100% efficiency in this game running the football. So I think that there is a little bit of a saving grace there. But defending the option has been an issue for the Dallas Cowboys. And that's going to potentially be an issue, especially without Leighton Vander Esch on the field. I think when you look at the Eagles offense, the bigger issue is the 6'2", 220-pound A.J. Brown, who has now gone 6 consecutive games with 125 receiving yards. I think the biggest issue when you look at the Cowboys going up against the Philadelphia Eagles offense is that the Cowboys want to play man coverage, and I think playing a lot of man coverage is the best way to go about it when you are defending guys like Dallas Goedert and Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. The problem with that is you want to play man coverage, but man coverage is so difficult when you have a quarterback who is as mobile as Jalen Hurts. Now, like I said, the ankle is not 100% for Jalen Hurts. He is still going to be dangerous in the drop back game, not just as a passer because of guys like A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and their fantastic tight end screen game that they have, but with his legs scrambling as well. I think that could be a key difference in this game if the Dallas Cowboys are not able to spy him or not able to get consistent pressure against him. And listen, getting consistent pressure against Jalen Hurts is not a simple task when you are going up against an offensive line like the Philadelphia Eagles. You're not going to be able to line up Micah Parsons against a backup center because Jason Kelce is in the middle. On the outside, you have Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson, two of the best tackles in the NFL. That offensive line is fantastic. And so you're going to have to find ways to create pressure to make things difficult on that very well-coached and very talented offensive line. It's going to be a big game for the defensive line games. I think games in general are a good way to kind of play with the rules of option defense and to make things difficult for offensive linemen in those situations as well. So that might be another way to help out this defense against the quarterback run game. But for me, the biggest key to the game is avoiding the big A.J. Brown play or the couple of big A.J. Brown plays, because at this point, it really appears like he is not going to be able to consistently be stopped. I mean, that play that he had in the end zone on his one touchdown last week was one of the more unbelievable sequences I've ever seen. Not only is he big and strong and fast, but to have all of that and to have the rapport with Jalen Hurts, to have the back shoulder fade like that, and to stick one paw up while defending the other end of his body from the defender so he couldn't get to the ball, was one of the most complete plays I've seen from a wide receiver in a long time. It was truly astounding. And so it's really hard to defend against the indefensible. So I think when you look at this game in totality, avoiding mistakes offensively is going to be big. But I think being able to stress the Philadelphia Eagles defense outside of the tackles in the run game, stress them in the middle of the field in the passing attack, and being able to create a couple of explosive plays down the field against their corners is going to be big for the Dallas Cowboys in this game offensively. Defensively, the keys to the game: slow down A.J. Brown a little bit. And then defending the option, I think, is the other big key to the game for the Dallas Cowboys defense. Now, this was a quick episode for y'all. I can only talk for so long. I'm actually a little bit under the weather here. This is a little bit of a flu game for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this one-on-one that we had here. And I'm going to leave you guys with the Dallas Cowboys Philadelphia Eagles prediction. And will I regret this? Maybe. But I think the Dallas Cowboys, for all of the inconsistencies that we have seen from this team, one thing that they have done consistently over the years is show up against NFC East opponents. I think that they're going to play at their best. I think that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to have their best in this game. And I think at the end of the day, the Dallas Cowboys are going to come away with this victory 24-23. I am Dalton Miller. Have a blessed day, everybody. Go Cowboys. And don't ever forget that I love you. Goodbye.